Yeah. So let's continue. So come to the topic on COP27. So all of you have got the material, right? Material मिल गया, ठीक है. So as I told you earlier in the last class, you have to go back and revise. Okay, go and give a thorough reading of this material. So then the topic is complete. ठीक है. So 27th COP 27. So this is COP of UNFCCC. So the conference of parties. Parties, what parties? Parties are basically the members of this convention. Okay, let me just give you some background here. So as I told you earlier, it started from 1972 Stockholm Conference. It is also called as the Stockholm Conference on Human Environment. So there the international communities, they participated, they discussed, and overall there was a the various issues came up about the development, about the requirement of the environmental conservation, all of that. So as a follow-up, in 1982 there was Nairobi Convention. In 1992 there is Rio Earth Summit. Rio Summit was there. So around the same time we had already finalized this Vienna Convention. Vienna Convention was 1985. Vienna Convention was already finalized. Montreal Protocol was also already finalized. And there were about various different debates and discussions were happening regarding climate change. There was no clear-cut data. The Rio Summit was already planned. वो तो पहले ही plan हो गया था, 1992 में मिलना ही है. The agenda was not fixed. ठीक है? And one of the important agenda they wanted to discuss was climate change. In the Rio Earth Summit, one of the important agenda they wanted to discuss was climate change. So, but there was no clear-cut data. So that is why the IPCC report 1988 में जो establish हुआ था, that gave its first report in 1990, the AR1. That is what is the main basis for this convention. So that report said that the global warming is happening. Okay, it is happening. First thing. Second, it is happening due to anthropogenic factors, the man-made factors, right? So that was confirmed. So it became very clear that we have to take measures to reduce the impact of global warming and climate change. So this was one of the major agenda discussed at Rio Earth Summit, and within the summit itself they finalized a convention, and that was made open to the signatories, and many countries signed it there. And in 1994, okay, so it happened in 1992. In 1994, that convention came into force. Okay, so in 1994 that convention came into force. दोनों year याद रखना है आपको. You have to remember both the years. It was agreed. Agreed मतलब क्या है? Finalized. Convention finalize कर दिया. ये है convention. अगर आपको इसका ग्रुप मेंबर बनना है तो आपको ये करना है. ऐसे बेसिक चीज़ें डिसाइड कर दिया था. And then they made the convention. So it was made to open for signing and ratification both. So why both are important? I told you already. Ratification is by the sovereign body. बहुत बार ऐसे होता है कि कन्वेंशन अग्री भी यही लोग किया है, साइन भी यही लोग करना है, रैटिफिकेशन भी यही लोग करना है. इतना रिपीटेटिव प्रोसेस क्यों है? So So जब convention agree करते हैं, when they agree on the convention, it is the representatives of all the different countries who have come together and they have discussed and they have agreed on the convention. So it just by agreeing, no work will happen. You have to put it on the paper that you have agreed. That is why you need signing. Sign करना है. तो फिर तो आगे जाके बोलेंगे मैंने तो हाँ हाँ बोला था तो मैंने तो नहीं माना था. तो इसलिए आके साइन करो. Okay, just sign it. So after that there is also another problem. Okay, so the country may say no, this guy who signed we don't know him. So we don't know who is this guy. हमें पता नहीं है ना. So they may evade the responsibility. फिर बोलते हैं चलो लेके जाओ. Okay, take the ratification. You get the ratification from your parliament or president, whoever it is. Okay, so that is what is ratification. And each convention will have a separate clause regarding when it will come into force. Okay, so that will decide whether 50% of the members should ratify it or 100 countries should ratify it. Okay, so they will decide on something. That clause is not important, but based on the clause it will come into force. In that way UNFCCC came to force in 1994. So once it came into force, so every year these parties, the members of this convention, the parties who are called parties, they come and meet every year in different locations. Okay, this meeting is what is called as the Conference of Parties, COP. So the first COP was held in Berlin. COP 1, 1995, Berlin. Any other COPs, important COPs? COP 3 was held in Kyoto, which resulted in Kyoto Protocol. Okay, so I'm not sure about the year. Let me just tell you the year. Okay, 1997 to Kyoto tha. After that 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. Okay, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. COP 8 was held in, yes, New Delhi. Okay, COP 8 was held in New Delhi. So then the year 2015, okay, that was held in Paris. That resulted in Paris Agreement. कि वो कौन सा COP था? COP 21. ठीक है? So every year the COP has happened except 2020. 2020 because of lockdown it did not happen. It was supposed to have happened in Glasgow itself. Okay, but that was postponed, and that was COP 26, which was held in 2021 in Glasgow. The latest COP is COP 27, which was held in Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt. Sharm el Sheikh. Okay? That is how the COPs are going on. So what exactly did they do in COP? COP का मतलब क्या है? Yes. So basically they discussed many things related to climate change. About already agreed decisions. जो पिछले वाले COPs में जो decision लिया था, whether they are implemented or not, and whether they are on the right track or not, or do we need any other new decisions for the future. All of this are discussed, and there are many debatable issues. Okay, so debatable issues, who should take how much responsibilities, okay, about the issue of agriculture, about the issue of carbon tax. So बहुत सारे debatable issues है, सब के बारे में बैठ के झगड़ा करते हैं लोग. Okay, it's a huge mess, you know, the entire COP. So and it becomes the responsibility of the host country to bring everyone to on table and get them to agree on some common thing. So that's why many of the COPs are considered to be total failure. Some of the COPs are considered to be very successful. Okay, so Kyoto, it resulted in a Kyoto Protocol. Paris Agreement. Glasgow is also overall it is considered to be successful, but Sharm el Sheikh is overall okay type है. इसमें ज़्यादा कुछ मेजर नहीं हुआ है, तो बहुत ज़्यादा बातें हुआ है, तो हर जगह में शर्म एल शेख ऐड कर दिया है बस. ओके, शर्म एल शेख एजेंडा, शर्म एल शेख वर्किंग ग्रुप, ऐसे हर जगह में शर्म एल शेख ऐड कर दिया. सो विल सी दैट. So that is about UNFCCC. Other than this, there are a total of 6 major outcomes, including UNFCCC from the Rio Earth Summit. Rio Earth Summit is the major summit which happened. Okay, so there is no other international summit which has resulted in these many important outcomes. Okay, these are the 6 major outcomes. The first 3 are a kind of declarations and development of principles. First one is Rio Declaration, second Agenda 21, and third one Forest Principles. Rio Declaration is a set of 27 principles, जो मैंने बताया था, precautionary principle, polluter pays principle. Like that, there are many principles which are agreed, which they have decided, and they have also made it as a document, which they said they will implement in the coming days. Agenda 21. What do you mean by 21 here? 21st century. 21st century में the agenda for all the different countries, different the international organizations, and what work they have to do. That is Agenda 21. Forest principles, principles for protection of forest. And then 3 UN conventions. One is Convention on Climate Change, which is called as UNFCCC. Second one is Convention on Biological Diversity, which is called as UNCBD. And third one, Convention on Desertification, which is called as UNCCD. Okay, that is Convention to Combat Desertification. Okay, 3 major outcomes which are like considered to be successful to some extent. Okay, so they were able to take many measures and initiatives under these conventions. So one of the major one is UNFCCC. So UNFCCC मैंने बताया था. So they were agreed in 1992, entered into force in 1994. After that, every year they are meeting and in the name of COP. So when they were meeting in the name of the COP, in one of the COP, they agreed on Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto Protocol was agreed in 1997. Because UNFCCC had no fixed targets to be achieved. Okay, no greenhouse gases reduction ऐसे specifically बात नहीं हुआ था. So it was in Kyoto Protocol they agreed to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions specifically, and they also fixed the targets for some of the countries. Okay, developed countries and economies in transition, like that. There are many groupings. They kept the certain targets and they agreed on a protocol. That is what is called as Kyoto Protocol. Agree to कर लिया 1997. Okay, it was in 1997 itself they agreed, but it took nearly 8 years for them to enforce it. It was in the year 2005 the Kyoto Protocol was enforced. वही जो ratification, signing, ratification में process में time लग गया. So इतना time क्यों लगा था? It is because of the Kyoto mechanism, the Kyoto Protocol itself. The agreement and the overall protocols were the overall instructions were very strict, and there was not much of liberty, and it put all the blame on the developed countries, and the developing countries had no fixed targets at all. Of course they have to take the blame, they are responsible, but इतना directly भी नहीं बोलना चाहिए था, है ना, इसलिए ये fail हो गया. Okay, so that's why it was a failure. So it entered into force in 2005, and then they decided that they will have a fixed time of 5 years from 2008 to 2012. In 5 years they kept a target, fixed targets for most of these developed countries, and they asked them to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions as per 2005 levels. But most of them did not reduce it. Okay, so it was a total failure. In fact, Japan itself withdrew from it. Okay, so वही लोग finalize किया था, वही लोग ही finally withdrew कर लिए. USA also withdrew from this. And when this Kyoto Protocol was under implementation, they also said that post Kyoto, okay, after 2012, they will bring another different commitments, and this time they said that they will bring for everyone. Okay, पहले आप लोग कम करो, फिर सबको लेके आएंगे, ऐसे बोला था. तो but ये लोग तो कम नहीं किया. And यहाँ पर भी बातें नहीं हुआ था. They were supposed to have discussed in the COP which held in Copenhagen in the year 2009. In the year 2009, Copenhagen hosted the COP, and there the rift between the developed and developing countries became very evident. and there the discussion did not happen much, and the post Kyoto agreement also was not finalized. In fact, after that, after Copenhagen, next was Cancun and then Durban. So not much development happened in that. So they did not finalize on the post Kyoto. 2012 के बाद में ही कुछ extra लेके आना था जो Paris 2015 में finalize हुआ था ना, that should have finalized long back. In 2008, 2009 में ही finalize होना चाहिए था. They did not finalize because of the lack of commitment and no serious efforts by the developed countries. So what they did in Doha 2012 COP happened in Doha. In Doha, they extended the Kyoto Protocol from 2012 to 2020. That is the second commitment period of Kyoto Protocol, which began from 2012 to 2020. So they extended, and then they started to discuss and negotiate on the next agreement, and the next agreement is called as the Paris Agreement. Okay, so in the next 2-3 years they discussed, and finally it was settled in Paris. So that is why the name Paris Agreement is given. Okay, in the year 2015, COP21, the Paris Agreement was finalized, and then once they finalized, same process, they asked the parties to sign and ratify. So there was some other clause here, 55 members or the countries with 55% of global emissions should ratify it, then only it will come to force, aisa kuch tha. So that was finally entered into force in 2017, and it came into, it was signed in 2017, and it started from 2018. The first COP, the first meeting of these members to Paris Agreement held in 2018. ठीक है? So अभी जब भी COP चलता है, इन दोनों का भी लोग मीटिंग करते हैं. लोग तो सेम ही है, नाम अलग अलग से रखे मीटिंग करते हैं. The meeting of the parties to the entire convention is called as COP. Okay, so within that they also discuss about Kyoto Protocol. Okay, कौन कितना किया है बताओ. Okay, बस नाम के लिए है ना, क्योंकि वो तो पूरा फेल्यूर था. It was a total failure. So they also discuss specifically about the Kyoto Protocol and their overall success, and that is called as CMP. इसको बोलते हैं CMP. CMP refers to Conference of Parties to, serving as the meeting of parties to the Kyoto Protocol. CMP याद रखो, पूरा याद रखने का जरूरी नहीं है. Okay, along with COP there is also CMP which parallelly happens within the COP itself. From 2018 they are also doing the CMA. So what is the CMA? CMA is the Conference of Parties serving as the meeting of parties to the Paris Agreement. This is basically meeting for Kyoto Protocol. This is basically meeting for Paris Agreement. Kyoto Protocol का 2020 जो टारगेट था वो खत्म हो गया. टारगेट तो अचीव नहीं है, डेडलाइन खत्म हो गया. So now from 2020 we are implementing this Paris Agreement. ठीक है? So right now we are in Paris Agreement. So but still whenever there is COP there is CMP also and CMA also. ठीक है? Parallelly चलता है. It is part of the COP itself. ठीक है? So what is COP? COP is Conference of Parties. Parties to UNFCCC. UNFCCC कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर जो बातें हुआ है फाइनली, मतलब पहले बातें जो हुआ था that we will reduce the global warming, will reduce the climate change, that is UNFCCC. So as a part of this they also discuss what is the progress in Kyoto Protocol, right? So there are many members of UNFCCC who became parties to Kyoto Protocol. Some of them did not become, or some of them withdraw. They will not take part in this meeting. Okay, the parties who are members of the Kyoto Protocol, they will meet separately and they will discuss about Kyoto Protocol. That is called as CMP. In the same way, there are members who are members to Paris Agreement. They will meet separately and that is called as CMA. COP, CMP and CMA. So UNFCCC has again universal membership. 198 parties are there, right? And it has resulted in one protocol, that is Kyoto Protocol, and one agreement, that is Paris Agreement. So what is this Paris Agreement? Paris Agreement क्या है? Unlike Kyoto Protocol, which said that each and every country has to reduce so and so, in Paris they did not give a specific reduction targets. There is no fixed reduction targets here. So what they did, they said आप ही लोग decide कर लो. Okay, how much you want to reduce? You only decide. What do we call it as? INDC. Intended Nationally Determined Contributions. Intended Nationally Determined Contributions. That is what is INDC, or commonly called as NDCs. And this is not binding too. The countries will declare, that is binding. You have to declare, each and every country has to declare. But it is not binding that you have to fulfill this. So what is the point of this? Even though INDC, fulfillment of INDC is not compulsory, it is not binding, but taking part in global stocktake is compulsory. What is global stocktake? Global stocktake is a combined exercise where everyone will together will see how much the other country has reduced. Okay, suppose USA, बाकी सारा लोग जाके वहाँ पर देखेंगे USA में कितना काम हुआ है, कितना कम हुआ है, and they will ask questions to you. Why did you not reduce? क्यों कम नहीं किया बताओ? तो फिर सबके सामने बेइज्जती होगा. तो इसलिए एक ऐसे peer pressure में आके fulfill कर लेंगे. So with that intention they have brought this INDC. So that is intentional because this is where the Kyoto Protocol failed. When you ask a particular country to fulfill, आपको इतना कम करना ही है, तो वो लोग रिपेल करेंगे, है ना? तो बोलेंगे कोशिश करते हैं, चलो, नहीं हो पाया बस. यही तो बोले थे फाइनली, है ना? They said the same thing. In the end, they said that we could not do it right, we could not do it. And the most important complaint was that, so why should I only do it? There are so many developing countries. India is releasing so much of CO2. China is releasing so much of CO2. Why should I reduce? So, so this time what they did? बोला देखो सब रिलीज कर रहे हैं, हम जाके चेक भी करेंगे. So पहले आप जो रिलीज तो कर लो, मतलब reduce तो कर लो. So there is a peer pressure, and out of that they will reduce. And taking part in this global stocktake is compulsory. This is legally binding. Everyone should take part in this global stocktake. That is legally binding. So if you ask whether the entire Paris Agreement is legally binding or not, it is neither. It is not completely legally binding, completely not binding. ऐसे भी नहीं है. There are few provisions which are legally binding, and one of them is global stocktake, the participation in global stocktake. Yeah. नहीं, वो separate है. There is a fund. That is Kyoto Protocol, Carbon Market Mechanism, Kyoto Protocol. That is part of UNFCCC. $100 billion, that is Green Climate Fund, part of UNFCCC. That will be there as long as UNFCCC is there. That was mandated by Cancun and implemented in Durban. Okay, so established in Cancun and implemented in Durban. ऐसे कोई नहीं करेंगे. ऐसे कोई नहीं करेंगे. ओवरऑल कंसेंसस है कि सब मिलके करना है बस. And any time if they want they can withdraw. USA withdraw in between, है ना? फिर वही है, peer pressure होगा, बहुत लोग criticize करेंगे एंड बहुत लोग बोलेंगे इतना आपके वजह से हो रहा है तो आप ही पार्टिसिपेट नहीं करोगे, ये सब इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे बेइज्जती होगा. तो थोड़ा बहुत प्रेशर में आके तो करना ही पड़ेगा इनको. So that is why it has not been very successful. See, the most important reason why the initiatives towards the climate change is not very effective in terms of implementation, the reason is that the impact of climate change is not something which is immediate. You know, it is not very immediate. We have started to experience this. Okay, so we see it, but ऐसा नहीं कि immediately नुकसान नहीं होता है. So ozone depletion देखो, ozone hole हो गया, so UV rays is coming and it can impact anyone immediately. So everyone started to implement it seriously, right? And second thing is climate change. We think that we will be able to survive. And even with climate change, there there is an opinion. So there would be loss of life, there would be loss of biodiversity. But ठीक है, सोचते हैं लोग ह्यूमन बीइंग सर्वाइव कर पाएंगे, ऐसे सोचते हैं. सो बट दैट इज टोटली फुलिशनेस. ठीक है. यस. हो रहा है, सीएमपी हो रहे हैं, पता नहीं क्या कर रहे हैं बट फिर भी हो रहे हैं. इस बार भी हुआ था. ठीक है. सो that is INDC, they set INDC and they set the global stocktake mechanism also, and they set a specific target too. What is the target? 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees Celsius. Okay, the actual target is 1.5 degrees. They said we will try to reduce, we will try to limit the global warming to 1.5, मतलब 1.5 तक stop कर देंगे, ऐसे बोला है. So अगर क्रॉस हो गया तो बोला कोशिश करेंगे 2 डिग्रीज तक, दोनों टारगेट रख दिया है ना. So so but here there is also another leverage which they, most of them consider it, because they think that we can also reverse it. So even if it is crossing 1.5, so they think that after some time we'll start to reduce the greenhouse gases, then it will come back to normal. ये सब तो ऐसे foolishness में है, तो देखते हैं. Okay, it is not going to be so easy to reverse it back. ठीक है. So overall this was agreed in Paris, and gradually every year whenever they are meeting in the subsequent COPs, every year they used to discuss how to implement this Paris agreement. They made some rule book, and they also brought some more mechanism like public registry. है ना, INDCs जो भी डिक्लेयर करते हैं, so उसको पब्लिक रजिस्ट्री में रखना पड़ता है, so it can be open to scrutiny for everyone. ये सब चीज़ें किया है. And in 2021 in Glasgow, so many important events happened, and most of the world leaders participated here, including our Indian Prime Minister. So even he made a declaration. He gave 5 commitments, which is called as Panchamrita commitments. है ना? So overall the countries participated, and they said चलो और कुछ करते हैं. So there was some more enthusiasm and many initiatives happened. तो UPSC में भी बहुत enthusiasm से questions भी आ गया था. Mains में 2 question आया था, prelims में भी 1 question आया था. So ठीक है. Overall Glasgow is considered to be very successful. So what are the major outcomes of Glasgow? एक बार briefly बता दीजिए, देखते हैं. So one of the important outcome of Glasgow is Glasgow Agenda. Okay, it is also called as the Breakthrough Agenda. Okay, it is also called as the Breakthrough Agenda. So what is this Glasgow Breakthrough Agenda? Here the country is committed for the first time about the clean technology. They said we have to accelerate our efforts towards clean technology, and we have to bring more cooperation in order to ensure that there is better clean technologies. That was called as the Glasgow Breakthrough Agenda. That was finalized in Glasgow, and that is under implementation. इस बार भी उसका बात हुआ था. And other than this, any other commitments? ये जो methane pledge था, what was methane pledge? 30 by 30, है ना? So and Solar Alliance के through एक initiative लिया था, that is one world, one sun, one earth, one grid. Okay, one sun, one earth, one grid. यूपीएससी में आ चुका है, तो दोबारा तो नहीं आएगा. So ऐसे एक प्रोग्राम शुरू किया था. ठीक है. और कुछ तो यही था. तो इसको मेजरली हमें वी आर लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू इन COP27, विच हैपेंड इन शर्म एल शेख, है ना, इजिप्ट, शर्म एल शेख. So this is the 27th COP and 17th CMP and 4th CMA. ठीक है. And the overall outcome of this is Sharm el Sheikh implementation plan. Sharm el Sheikh implementation plan. And what are the key outcomes, the important achievements which we can say? So these are all the key important achievements. मतलब ये इसमें पूरा लिस्ट दिया है, इसमें सारा तो याद नहीं होगा. प्रीलिम्स के लिए कौन कौन सा इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि सारे चीज़ों के ऊपर बात होता है. So they talk about each and every aspect of this climate change, climate negotiation. They discuss about each and everything. Only few of them they will agree on something. Only few of them they take a decision. That is very important. Okay, the decisions which are finalized and they were given a specific name and specific framework or the working condition जो दिया है ना, so वो important है. उनमें से कौन कौन सा है? The first one, climate target. So this was also mentioned in Glasgow. So before Glasgow itself, the AR6 of IPCC was released. The first and second जो working group का report था ना, that was already released, and in that it was clearly mentioned that whatever the INDCs which the countries had committed, INDCs which the countries have committed under Paris Agreement, है ना, बोल दिया आप ही declare कर दो, तो ये लोग ठीक से declare ही नहीं किया है. They have not declared sufficiently to ensure that the global warming is limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Leave about 1.5, it will not even achieve 2 degrees Celsius too. In Glasgow it was said that if we fulfill the complete commitments declared by all the countries under INDCs, वो भी 100% fulfill हो गया, in that case we will still see a global warming of 2.4 degrees Celsius. That was said in Glasgow itself, and they said next COP में at least आप थोड़ा ज़्यादा declare कर दो, INDCs को बढ़ा दो. ऐसे तब भी बोला था, इस बार भी लोग ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं बोला है, तो फिर भी इस बार भी बोला है कि प्लीज़ revisit and strengthen the targets by the end of 2023 itself. So because COP usually happens in November, okay, that is when the COPs happen. So बोला है कि वापस जाके जब घर पे बात करोगे ना, थोड़ा बहुत सोच के इंक्रीज कर देना, ऐसे बोला है बस. ठीक है, that was the first thing, first important thing. And second important thing was regarding adaptation. So first of all, you should know the meaning of adaptation, then only we can discuss. What do you mean by adaptation? In order to survive, adjust, yes. So what is the difference between adaptation and mitigation? To reduce the effect is mitigation. In all climate change efforts, there are two types of measures. One is mitigation, another one is adaptation. Most of the countries, they are working towards mitigation. Okay, that is by reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. They are still thinking that we will reduce the greenhouse gas emission and we will reduce the climate change and we will put everything under control. Okay, that is still not possible. How much ever we reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, there is going to be at least some global warming which is going to happen. Okay, so even with the most successful हमने सब कुछ कर लिया, जो C1 pathway था, उसके हिसाब से भी 1.5 degree change होना ही है. It will definitely happen. In that scenario, we need to prepare ourselves to that new situation. Okay, so even with 1.09 degrees, we are seeing so much of climatic variations. So many people are affected. So we need that capacity to survive that new condition. That is what is adaptation. UNFCCC should work towards both, but the most effort, most of the initiatives are taken towards mitigation and less towards adaptation. This is one of the most important criticism of UNFCCC efforts. ठीक है, so for the first time, मतलब इसके पहले भी बात हुआ था, so now they have taken some important step here in this context for adaptation. That is, they have made a framework for the global goal on adaptation. Global goal on adaptation is an initiative. Okay, they said तब हम global level में initiative लेना है, कुछ करना है adaptation के context में. This was initiated at Paris COP. Paris COP में एक initiative लेके आया था, global goal on adaptation. Now they developed a framework for that global goal of adaptation. Okay, एक framework लेके आया है, and they said in the next COP we will start a program called as Glasgow Sharm el Sheikh program in COP28. In the next COP, a new program is about to be started, that is Glasgow Sharm el Sheikh program. And there was also some fund which was mobilized to adaptation fund. There is a fund under UNFCCC which is called as adaptation fund. For that they mobilized a total of $230 million. Okay, so adaptation में major काम हुआ है, agreement भी हुआ है. जो पेरिस में बात किया था उसको थोड़ा सा और अच्छे से फ्रेमवर्क बनाए और बोला है कि नेक्स्ट सीओपी में पूरा प्रोग्राम ही शुरू कर देंगे इसके ऊपर. व्हाट विल बी द नेम ऑफ द प्रोग्राम? ग्लासगो शर्म एल शेख वर्क प्रोग्राम ऑन अडेप्टेशन. ठीक है. अडेप्टेशन फंड इज ऑलरेडी देयर, वो बहुत पहले एस्टैब्लिश हो गया है. ओके, सो यूएनएफसीसी के अंदर है, उसके लिए और थोड़ा सा एक्स्ट्रा पैसा मोबिलाइज किया है. Most of them are developed countries. So another major development happened, that was regarding loss and damage. Loss and damage is very similar to adaptation. What is loss and damage? Whenever we are going to see some increase in the global temperature, let's say 1.5 degrees ही हुआ है, that will cause some damage, which will result in some loss to some communities, some countries, and most of them are usually less developed or developing countries because they have lesser capacity to withhold, they have the lesser adaptation capacity, right? So we need to compensate them. Who has to compensate them? Developed countries. It is because of their historical emissions. Okay, remember the word historical emissions. They have been releasing the carbon dioxide for a very long period of time. We need to bring some accountability, right? So that is why they have the accountability, they have the responsibility to compensate the damage which is going to happen due to the climate change and global warming. So that mechanism is called as loss and damage mechanism. And here also they agreed on a new funding arrangement. A new funding arrangement has been agreed for loss and damage. And for now, to work on this more, they have established a transitional committee, and they said they will make a new funding arrangement operational from the next year. So basically वही है, यहाँ पर बातें बातें करके next year जहाँ पर होने वाले उनके ऊपर सारा डालते जा रहे हैं लोग, है ना? So and at the same time there was also another discussion happened on agriculture. Okay, you need to remember this word, Coronavia Joint Work for Agriculture. Coronavia Joint Work for Agriculture. So UPSC में ऐसे डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. Coronavia Joint Work is related to what, in which area? ठीक है, in the context of agriculture and climate change. See, climate change is going to have some impact on agriculture. Right? It is going to reduce the production level, it is going to overall cause issue in the food security. At the same time, agriculture is also another important source of greenhouse gas emissions. Right? इसके ऊपर डिस्कशन को बहुत पहले से ही अवॉइड करके रखा है. It is totally avoided. It is usually not discussed. This is for the first time they were discussed. इसके पहले डिस्कस हुआ था, उसके बाद में ज़्यादा बातें नहीं किया था. This Coronavia is not something new. ये पुराना है. इसके ऊपर ज़्यादा बात नहीं करता है. They don't talk about this much because the developing countries oppose this a lot, including India. Even India also opposes this because food security is a huge issue. The first thing is you have to solve the issue of food security. You have to ensure that then only you can say इतने सारे industries का बात करना है, इतने सारे emissions का बात करना है, वो सब छोड़ के agriculture के ऊपर आ रहे हो. It provides employment to a large section of people, right? So we cannot go there immediately, particularly the developing countries. So but still they discussed about this, and that this Coronavia joint work was actually established in the year 2017. 2017 COP actually it was held in Madrid, I think Madrid. Okay, वहाँ पर इसको establish किया था joint work for agriculture, and they were just discussing, and उनको 4 साल और time दिया है. They were given 4 more years of time, and Here also they established another Sharm el Sheikh joint work on implementation of climate action on agriculture and food security. ठीक है? So basically this joint work was already there, it was already there, and उनको 4 साल और time दिया है, and उसके अंदर एक ऐसे joint work implementation framework जैसे बना के, so they started to discuss more detailedly and in with more participation. That is what they call it as the Sharm el Sheikh joint work on implementation of climate change on agriculture and food security. Bonn, हाँ Bonn था, या Bonn के बाद में मैड्रिड में था, ठीक है, 90, okay. So Bonn and then Katowice and then Madrid. Let's go, ठीक है, ठीक है. These are the major discussions happened. उसके अलावा if you go to the end of the material, there is a total appendix. Okay, just go through that, I'll tell you. So we'll not be reading it now immediately because already you must be feeling too factual. है ना, so that's why we'll not be doing it immediately. We'll do it at the end. Okay, in the end of the material, there is a separate appendix about all the different initiatives taken at this COP. For prelims perspective, you have to know the basic idea of this. Okay, basic idea तो पता होना चाहिए. I think it's not here. ठीक है, वहाँ पर end में है. So we'll discuss that later. Okay, in that selectively important ones we'll discuss. Whatever is India is participating or at the global level जो भी important है उसका बात करेंगे. There is a total list. I think 3-4 पेज का list है. Okay, appendix 1. Go to appendix 1. You will find that. These are all the initiatives taken at this Sharm el Sheikh. कहाँ पर है इस पर? ठीक है. So in addition to this, there was one more coalition which was initiated earlier. Now it is in news. मतलब इस बार इसके बारे में बात हुआ था. So that was First Movers Coalition. First Movers Coalition. This was established in COP 26. Okay, Glasgow last year हुआ था. So basically this is initiative led by USA and India is also participating in this, and in addition to that World Economic Forum is also helping the countries in implementing this. So what do you mean by First Movers Coalition? So there are 7 major sectors which is one of the largest contributors to global emissions of greenhouse gas. Okay, it is said that it contributes 30% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, and it is very important that we start decarbonizing these sectors in order to reduce the global greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, targeting these 7 sectors, they have formed a coalition gradually to reduce the emissions in that context. So that is what is First Movers Coalition. एक box के अंदर छोटा सा दिया है First Movers Coalition. You can see that, right? So that is recently in news. So just see that part. First Movers Coalition. So it's a coalition. Coalition is basically grouping of only few countries. No, it is not necessary that every country has to participate. That is what is usually coalition or alliance, whatever they say. So in this, the major target area is to major objective is to bring the clean technologies in some of the largely contributing sectors. There are a total of 7 sectors which contribute total of 30% to greenhouse gases, to global greenhouse gas emission. Okay, these are aluminium, aviation, chemicals, concrete, shipping, steel and trucking sector. Okay, and this alliance is basically they are trying to bring better technology, clean technology in these sectors सो दैट अगर यहाँ से शुरू किया तो उसका कंट्रीब्यूशन ज़्यादा रहेगा. सो बाकी सब ग्रेजुअली ऑन बोर्ड लेके जाएंगे विद दैट इंटेंशन. इंडिया इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ दिस. दैट इज व्हाट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर. एंड वो ग्लासगो ब्रेक थ्रू एजेंडा मैंने बताया था ना, किसके कंटेक्स्ट में था? क्लीन टेक्नोलॉजी, क्लीन एंड चीपर टेक्नोलॉजी वो होना चाहिए था. उसके बारे में उसके बहुत पहले भी हमने डिस्कस किया था, मतलब सीओपी में डिस्कस किया था. सो दैट वाज इन न्यू दिल्ली. ओके, न्यू दिल्ली सीओपी हुआ था ना, तब भी क्लीन टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में एक मिनिस्ट्रियल डिक्लेरेशन इशू किया था. उसके बाद में ज़्यादा कुछ बात नहीं हुआ. देन ग्लासगो अडेप्टेशन, ग्लासगो एजेंडा, ब्रेक थ्रू एजेंडा में दोबारा बात हुआ है. सो लेट्स होप दैट समथिंग विल हैपन. Clean energy is basically energy which will not result in any kind of emissions. Okay, so emissions nahi hona chahiye, and it should not contribute neither in terms of global warming nor in terms of air pollution. That is what is clean energy. Okay, green refers to the same clean energy only, but here green refers to the renewable part. ठीक है, so for example nuclear energy is a clean energy. ठीक है, solar energy is a green energy. हाइड्रोजन का थोड़ा सा डिबेट है. लार्ज हाइड्रो इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड टू बी रिन्यूएबल. So that means basically these companies, the large scale big corporates who are involved in these sectors, they are also taken on board. Their support is also very much required. They were expected to invest in these clean technologies and bring better technologies. They were expected to initiate this change at their levels. For that this entire group will support. Okay, coordinate करके support करेंगे. That is the idea. मतलब ये लोग पहले शुरू कर सकते हैं. These are the big companies. They have the better capacity to take measures to bring clean technology. ठीक है, यहाँ पर एक important है, long term low emission development strategy. Okay, so go to the next page. You'll find that लॉन्ग टर्म लो एमिशन डेवलपमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी. ये अभी तक डिस्कशन में नहीं था, अभी डिस्कशन में आया है. ओके, इन आफ्टर दिस, इन द लास्ट 1 or 2 years आफ्टर द सीओपी पर्टिकुलरली. रिमेंबर दिस टर्म, लॉन्ग टर्म लो एमिशन डेवलपमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी, LTLEDS. So what we have discussed as part of Paris is INDC, intended nationally determined contributions, right? So what is the idea of intended nationally determined contributions? The countries will commit themselves and they will themselves fulfill it. Okay, there is a peer pressure to fulfill that, and these are to declare INDC is compulsory. कितना declare करोगे वो अपने हिसाब से कर सकते हैं, right? So that is what is INDCs. In addition to that, there is also another clause in Paris Agreement which says that the countries should also declare this LTLEDS, but this is not mandatory. अगर declare किया तो अच्छा है, but ऐसा compulsory नहीं है. So INDCs are more specific targets, and this is long-term low emission development strategy. These are broad objectives, broad strategies. Okay, broad strategies which they are going to say how we are going to move ahead, how we are going to fulfill this, the broader idea, how we want to contribute towards the reduction of global warming and climate change. So for example, India recently declared its long-term low emission development strategy. There are a total of 7 strategies which India wants to follow. Okay, you can see that these are the broad headings. इसमें कोई target नहीं होता है. And under this there would be specific targets. These are the broad headings. Can you see? The first one, low carbon development of electricity systems consistent with development. Right? So this is the broad target. Broad objective. Second one, integrated, efficient, inclusive, low carbon transport system. Third one, adaptation in urban design, energy, material efficiency in building and sustainable urbanization. Okay, like this, CO2 removal and related engineering solution. Overall हम कैसे participate करना चाहते हैं, how exactly we want to participate in this effort of reducing global warming and climate change. That broad objective is decided in this seven different areas, and how we are going to fulfill that. So that is given by this INDCs. For example, let me just give you a simple example. See, the first objective was low carbon development of electricity system consistent with development. Okay, so that we will achieve through the target of fulfilling 50% of non-fossil capacity by 2030. This is one of the INDCs, right? It is जो हमारा प्रोडक्शन पावर प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी है उसमें 50% हम नॉन फॉसिल सोर्सेस से प्रोड्यूस करेंगे बाय 2030. एंड वी आल्सो हैव द इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ आरपीओ पता है, रिन्यूएबल परचेज ऑब्लिगेशंस. सो दिस इज फॉर द डिस्कॉम्स, okay, distribution companies who has the obligation to purchase power from the renewable sources and who are not able to purchase, and they have to fulfill that by purchasing these RPO from those producers. Okay, it's a kind of certifications. Okay, renewable energy certifications hoga. That is what is renewable purchase obligations. And we also have many green corridors. So like that. So there is specific initiatives taken in order to fulfill the broad objective of this. So to declare these broad objectives is what is called as the long-term low emission development strategies. RPO आगे आएगा, डिटेल में डिस्कस करते हैं. ठीक है, विल डिस्कस दैट. रिन्यूएबल परचेज ऑब्लिगेशंस. ठीक है, एंड डेफिनेटली दिस इज नॉट ए प्रीलिम्स एरिया. डोंट वरी अबाउट मगिंग अप ऑल दीज फैक्ट्स. Okay, it is not required, but you should remember this term. इंडिया ने रिसेंटली अनाउंस किया है, एंड ये कंपलसरी है नहीं कंपलसरी है, ये किसके पार्ट से अनाउंस किया है, यही है क्वेश्चन. Nobody is going to ask you this, but INDCs are important. Okay, INDCs are important. उसके ऊपर टॉपिक है, डायरेक्टली अदर आ जाओ. So you can see here, and I have given many previous questions. Okay, so this is UNFCCC Paris 2015 के ऊपर क्वेश्चन था. इसका आंसर बताइए, देखते हैं. चलो, दिस वाज लिमिटेड टू दैट ईयर, तभी इसका आंसर पता चलेगा, ये ज़रूरी नहीं. इट वाज साइंड बाय ऑल द मेंबर्स कंट्रीज ऑफ यूएन. सो एट दैट टाइम 2016 में क्वेश्चन आया था शायद इसका. सो इट वाज अबाउट दैट स्टेटस. ओके, व्हाट अबाउट दिस, इसका आंसर बताइए. सिंपल है, INDCs. व्हाट अबाउट दिस? Three only. These were all Kyoto mechanism. Clean development mechanism, Kyoto. What is clean development mechanism? Developing countries. Okay, so Kyoto में ऐसे target था, आपको इतना achieve करना है, you have to fulfill this much of target. So that they could have fulfilled by starting a project in other countries too. Okay, developing countries में भी project करके वो credit लेके जा सकता था. So that is clean development mechanism. Joint implementation is two countries with fixed targets helping each other. Okay, that is what is joint implementation. Certified emission reduction is these credits. Okay, so credits को certified emission reduction बोलते हैं. This is also part of Kyoto Protocol. Annex 1 countries is UNFCCC. Okay, so what are Annex 1 countries of UNFCCC? Developed countries. Okay, developed countries, the members of OECD. The members of OECD, what is OECD? Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Okay, these are all developed countries. Okay, Western Europe and USA, Canada, all these. Okay, so in addition to that, there is also economies in transition, IET, so EIT, economies in transition. So that is also part of Annex 1. So who are EIT? Eastern European countries and the erstwhile members of Soviet Union. Okay, they have lesser capacity compared to the OECD members. Okay, that's why they are classified as separate, and they are put under the overall group of Annex 1. Annex 1 were the countries who had the fixed targets under Kyoto Protocol. उनके लिए fixed targets था. So all other countries who are not having fixed targets, they were in non-Annex 1. ठीक है, ये सब तो पुराना है, अभी नहीं आएगा, अभी तो पेरिस के ऊपर आएगा. ठीक है, so there is one topic related to INDCs, so directly come there, we'll finish that also. Topic 1.3.1. So we all know about INDCs, काफी discuss कर लिया. It is part of Paris, right? These are the contributions by the countries. So most of the countries declared their INDCs then and there. When they agreed to Paris, then and there they declared. India had declared in the year 2015 itself. In the year 2015 itself, we had declared that we are going to achieve so and so. Okay? So in the last COP at the Glasgow, we made 5 commitments, which is called as Panchamrita. Right? These are the 5 commitments. Net zero by 2070. Okay, you have to remember this. याद होना ही चाहिए. Net zero by 2070. Non-fossil energy capacity should be 500 gigawatts by 2030. 50% of energy from renewable sources by 2030. Total carbon emission reduction should be 1 billion tons by 2030. And carbon intensity of the economy should be reduced by 45% by 2030. All target 2030 except this net zero is 2070. Okay, these were the 5 targets which we gave, that is called as Panchamrita targets. So but these were not INDCs. INDCs were different. INDCs were the commitments which he had given as part of Paris, right? So now we have to match this. So that is why we have updated our INDCs. Okay, so recently we updated our INDCs. And these are the updated INDCs. Our intended nationally determined contributions, there are 3 targets which are quantitative in nature with which can be measured, and 5 are qualitative in nature. Qualitative ऐसा ही एक बार पढ़ लो. Okay, it is a kind of general. To propagate a healthy and sustainable way of living based on tradition and values of conservation and moderation. Adopt a climate friendly and cleaner path. Better adapt to climate change. Mobilize domestic and new additional funds. Build capacities, create domestic framework and international architecture. Right? So ऐसे थोड़ा सा क्वालिटेटिव टारगेट्स रखा है, एंड क्वांटिटेटिव टारगेट्स तो we know about this. Okay, so see the earlier target to reduce the emission intensity of the economy. Earlier it was 33 to 35% by 2030. Now that has been increased to 45% as per Panchamrita. That we have updated this. Okay, एक target update किया. Earlier it was 33 to 35%. Now it is 45%. Second, the cumulative installed capacity should from non-fossil fuel, that was earlier 40%, now we have increased to 50%, right, by 2030. Earlier it was 40%, now we increased to 50% as per Panchamrita. And third, create additional carbon sink through additional forest cover this has remained the same, that is 2.5 to 3 billion tons. This has remained the same. Okay. दो तो इनकॉर्पोरेट कर दिया, आउट ऑफ पंचामृता दो इनकॉर्पोरेट किया. वन इज द कार्बन इंटेंसिटी ऑफ द इकोनॉमी, सेकंड वन इज नॉन फॉसिल सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी. नॉन फॉसिल सोर्स कितना होना चाहिए? 50% होना चाहिए. कार्बन इंटेंसिटी कितना कम होना चाहिए? 45% कम होना चाहिए. बाकी दो के बारे में बात नहीं किया है, बस पंचामृता में बोला है, आईएनडीसीज में अपडेट नहीं किया है. ठीक है. सो नेट जीरो तो है ही, नेट जीरो इज ओवरऑल कमिटमेंट. ओके. सो अदर देन दिस, ये जो कार्बन नहीं, इसका 1 बिलियन टन कम करेंगे, इसको भी इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं किया है. एंड 500 गीगावाट बाय 2030 भी इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं किया. ठीक है. इसको इसी के अंदर डाल सकते हैं. ओके. 50% ऑफ नॉन फॉसिल, सॉरी 50% ऑफ रिन्यूएबल कैन ऑल्सो मीन 500 गीगावाट ऑफ नॉन फॉसिल. We can combine these two, but this has not been spoken in the updated INDCs. ठीक है. Okay. Come to this topic 1.2.5. The topic name is Innovation Roadmap of the Mission Integrated Biorefineries. First, let's understand what is biorefinery. What is a biorefinery? What is a refinery? Where do we use refinery? Petroleum. That is common refineries, where we put crude oil and extract all the different products. That is refinery. Biorefinery uses biomass and extract various different products. Okay? So most common product which we extract from the biomass is biofuel. Biofuel. Other than that, few other products, few other chemicals can also be extracted. All such system is what is called as biorefineries. Okay? So that is clear. First one. These are basically the systems which mimic the petroleum refineries and convert biomass into biofuels, chemicals or materials. Okay, you want to write the definition? I think definition is not given there. These are the systems which mimic petroleum refineries, and convert biomass into biofuels, chemicals and materials. So one of the major output of this is going to be biofuel. Biofuel we can produce from biorefinery. What is a biofuel? Yes, the fuel derived from biological sources. For example, biodiesel. Okay, or ethanol. Ethanol is produced from sugar related जो भी food crops है, sugar cane, rice, we can use this to produce ethanol. Biodiesel is produced from Jatropha, right? So like this, we can use various different sources to produce biofuels. We have a national policy on biofuels. National policy है biofuels. It recognizes 4 generations of biofuels. बताइए. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 कौन सा है? First generation. Food crops. Okay. Second generation. Non-food as well as the spoiled food. Okay. जो यूज नहीं कर सकते, which is not fit for human consumption, even that can be put under second generation. Okay, it clearly says, and there it brings the idea of biorefineries too. Okay, third generation कौन सा है? Algae. Fourth generation genetically modified organism. Okay, specifically modify करके कर सकते हैं. Fine. These are biorefineries and biofuels. Basic idea clear? So now there is a program at the international level called as Mission Innovation. Okay, ऐसे नाम सुन के लगता है कि इंडिया का मिशन है, ये इंडिया का मिशन नहीं है. मतलब it is not a national mission, it is an international mission where various different countries participate here. Okay, it's a global initiative and there are total of 22 countries plus EU. Okay, including India. India is also part of this. It is a global initiative to make clean energy attractive as well as affordable to all. Okay, so मतलब clean energy जो है तो सस्ता भी होना चाहिए, सबके लिए भी होना चाहिए. That is what is attractive, affordable and accessible to all. So with that intention they have formed a simple group and उसका members भी हैं, इंडिया भी है. तो उसमें ऐसे बहुत initiatives लेके implement कर रहे हैं. Okay, they are implementing many different initiatives and one of the initiative is Mission Integrated Biorefineries. Mission Integrated Biorefineries. It is one of the initiative of Mission Innovation. There are total of 7 missions under this. Under what? Mission Innovation. In that one of them is about integrated biorefineries. What are the other missions? Urban transitions, net zero industries, clean hydrogen, green powered future, zero emission shipping, carbon dioxide removal. These missions may not be important, but it gives us the important areas which we have to see. If there is any new alliance, new grouping in these areas, please follow them. For example, hydrogen तो न्यूज़ में है, हाइड्रोजन के ऊपर कोई भी अलायंस आ गया, कोई भी ग्रुपिंग आ गया, वी हैव टू सी देम. ठीक है, सो लाइक दैट. सो वन ऑफ देम इज मिशन इंटीग्रेटेड बायो रिफाइनरीज. So what is this Mission Integrated Biorefineries? This was established in the year of 2022. Again, this is the 7th mission and it aims to achieve some targets for next 5 years. Okay, it has a total of 5-year target period. Overall target is to replace 10% of fossil based fuels, chemicals and material with bio alternatives by 2030. Okay, इसको याद रखना इजी है क्योंकि बाकी सब तो 30/30 था, ये तो 10/30 है. So मतलब using biorefineries we can produce many things other than biofuels too. So to bring such kind of refineries and to replace at least 10% of these fossil fuel consumption with the production from the biorefineries by 2030 is the target. ठीक है. So but हाँ, completely clean तो नहीं होगा, but we are bringing the alternative to fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are more polluting and they are more we can say they are very less in availability and उसका जो products से निकलता है ना, they are considered to be releasing many of the greenhouse gases too and air pollutants too. In that case comparatively this is better. नेट जीरो इंडस्ट्री वो तो ओवरऑल मिशन है. मतलब For example, if you are able to capture the carbon dioxide from flue gas, okay, so and capture and convert into some other products and use it back in the industry, right? Many of the industries which releases carbon dioxide, usko वापस capture कर लो and convert into some other products which use carbon or carbon dioxide as input and use it back in the industry. So it becomes net zero, right? नहीं, नेट ज़ीरो का मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो ज़ीरो एमिशन का है. नेट ज़ीरो का मतलब रिलीज होगा बट वापस भी कैप्चर करके बैलेंस कर देगा. दैट इज व्हाट इज नेट ज़ीरो. यू कैन से सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी. ओके, वी शुड बी एबल टू कैप्चर इट बैक एंड यूज इट बैक. दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ नेट ज़ीरो. नेट ज़ीरो डजंट मीन दैट ज़ीरो एमिशंस. ठीक है, ठीक है. सो ओवरऑल इट वाज अनाउंस्ड इन 2022 एंड it is led by India and Netherlands. Okay, India and Netherlands. The overall objective is to accelerate the commercialization of integrated bio-refineries. So this is something which is still under R&D. Okay, bio-refinery is not completely commercialized yet. लार्ज स्केल में तो यूज़ नहीं हुआ है. सो मिशन लाइफ सुना है? सो लाइफ इज शॉर्ट फॉर्म फॉर लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट. ओके, लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट. सो दिस इज बेसिकली a suggestion given by our Honorable Prime Minister at Glasgow. Okay, COP26 में इसके बारे में बात हुआ था. लाइफ, दैट इज लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट. ठीक है, सो तब बात किया था. उसके बाद में एक दो प्रोग्राम भी, अवेयरनेस कैंपेन्स भी शुरू किया. अभी पूरा मिशन बना दिया. इट हैज़ बीन इम्प्लीमेंटेड एज ए टोटल मिशन एंड दैट वाज अनाउंस्ड बाय आवर प्राइम मिनिस्टर हिमसेल्फ एट द स्टैच्यू ऑफ लिबर्टी. कहाँ पर है? सॉरी सॉरी स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी. सो कहाँ पर है? केवड़िया, गुजरात. ठीक है, केवड़िया. सो देयर दे अनाउंस दिस मिशन which is called as Mission Life. Overall it has 3 phases. So agenda क्या है? Mission Life का agenda क्या है? We have to change our lifestyle as per the environment. Okay, so मतलब environmental needs के हिसाब से. Okay, so it incorporates almost all the aspects, starting from our transportation, converting into clean, है ना? So moving from the diesel petrol vehicles to electric vehicles, or using solar panels, or reducing the consumption of the polluting products, right? Or using it for longer duration, recycling, reusing, है ना? तो इसका best example है the clothes, the cloth industry. Cloth industry is one of the highly polluting industry, जो textile industry होता है. Because of fast fashion, you know, fast fashion. So we want to change our clothes every 2 months, 3 months. We'll not be using that after that. We'll buy and we'll just throw it out. So because of that, there is a higher demand and higher production, and so much of waste is there, and there is no proper method of disposal too. वहाँ पर भी pollution होता है, right? So to change the entire lifestyle as per the needs of the present environment, है ना? So to reduce the overall consumption. So that is the idea here. It has 3 phases. One is change in demand, second one is change in supply, and third one is change in policy. First होना चाहिए change in demand. जब हमारे तरफ से demand कम होगा, then only they will reduce the supply. If you keep demanding more, the industry will also supply more. You cannot ask them to reduce the supply. First reduce the demand, then they reduce the supply, and as per government will also change the policy. Okay, 3 different levels. So this is being implemented as a separate program, separate mission, and India wants to implement this as a global mass movement. It wants to implement it as a global mass movement to protect and preserve the environment. To protect and preserve the environment. And the target is to mobilize at least 1 billion Indians. To mobilize at least 1 billion Indians and other global citizens to take collective action. So what do we call these people as, who are following or incorporating this life? They are called as pro-planet people. P3, pro planet people, उनको बोलते हैं pro planet people. And the mission duration is 5 years, from 2022 to 2027. And not only this, it also identify कहाँ पर हम इसको incorporate कर सकते हैं. A total of 7 categories of the lifestyle changes which we can incorporate, and in each of the category there are subdivisions of various different practices which this mission aims to highlight, and it wants to bring more awareness among the people so that they will start to follow this. Okay, so for example, one of the target is regarding saving energy, using of LED bulbs, using public transportation, like that. Okay, so another is regarding saving water, using drip irrigation, rainwater harvesting, saving reducing the single use of plastic. ये तो eliminate हो गया. Not everything is eliminated. Okay, few of them are still used, इसलिए reducing the single use plastic. And sustainable food system, waste reduction, healthy lifestyle, and e-waste reduction. E-waste तो बहुत ज़्यादा है और बहुत ज़्यादा होने वाला भी है. In the coming days, e-waste is going to increase. Why? वो लिथियम को बैटरी बनाने में बहुत टाइम लगता है. Solar. Okay, solar. We have increased the overall solar production, and that is also our target to increase to much more higher levels. Okay, right now the second highest source of energy, electricity production in India is solar. Okay, solar energy. पहले कौन सा है? First one is coal. Okay, so coal has, for the first time, coal has come down to less than 50. 49% में 49.7 ऐसे कुछ आ गया है coal. Okay, but the catch is उसमें lignite exclude कर दिया. ठीक है, लिग्नाइट छोड़ के खाली कोल 49.7 है. उसके अलावा नेक्स्ट वन इज सोलर. सोलर इज नियरली 15%. we are planning to increase it to much more higher levels, but the issue is there is very low recycle rate, low repair rate in case of solar panels. Okay, solar waste management ऐसे कुछ rules नहीं है. there is no rules. ठीक है, and we are going to see a large number of these solar waste, solar panels in the coming days. So we need to take some measure in that context. ठीक है, so that is mission life. Any doubts here? चलो, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट में मैं पूरा एनर्जी मिक्स का प्रॉपर बता दूंगा. ठीक है, प्रेजेंट सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी जो भी है, सो उसके बारे में बात करते थे. चलो, लेट्स टेक ए क्विक ब्रेक. टायर्ड हो गई क्या? थोड़ा सा फैक्चुअल टाइप ही है एनवायरनमेंट, सो बट देयर इज नो अदर अल्टरनेटिव. लेट्स टेक ए क्विक ब्रेक एंड कम बैक. हाँ हाँ है, उसमें एनर्जी में आ जाएगा, बहुत सारा टारगेट्स है उसमें. Yeah, next one. So any doubts still here? कार्बन बॉर्डर एडजस्टमेंट मैकेनिज्म सुना है? कार्बन बॉर्डर एडजस्टमेंट मैकेनिज्म. So this is a mechanism basically proposed by European Union in the latest COP. In the latest COP, European Union has proposed this mechanism. Okay, so we'll come to this. What is this mechanism? Before that, so let me give you about this Europe and their climate targets. So Europe is one of the very important part of this, all these negotiations. European countries जो है, European Union and the other countries of this Europe. So and most of the countries follow a very strict regulation with regard to the climate issues, whether it is reduction or pollution. Okay, so their rules have become very strict and stringent. And so they have also been one of the important contributors towards this overall the strategy to reduce the global warming and climate change. Okay, they have been contributing very well. So as a part of their overall commitments, they have a target which is called as EU climate target. So which is cutting 55% of their emissions by 2030, and that to 55% compared to 1990 levels. Okay, they have one of the very strict targets. They want to achieve this. By 2030, they want to reduce their emissions as per 1990 levels, and they want to reduce how much? 55%, and they have already achieved 24%. Okay, so they have already cut down 24% and they want to cut 55%. इसलिए उनका रूल्स बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट है, बहुत stringent है. So regarding the emission standards, okay, even we follow their emission standards. What is India's emission standards called as? Bharat stage. Bharat stage. That is based on Euro stage के ऊपर ही है. अभी जो BS6 use करते हैं ना, so that is based on Euro stage only. So they have one of the very strict and stringent emission standards, not only for vehicles and industry, at every level. ठीक है? So this is about their overall target. In this context, there is a concept called as carbon leakage. Okay, there is a concept called as carbon leakage. So what is this carbon leakage? It is because of this, the strict policy. Many of these industries for which the production is becoming or going to become much more costlier in the future, or it is already costlier, they all have shifted to less developed countries and developing countries. जो सबसे ज़्यादा polluting उनका जो industries है ना, so including steel production, aluminium production and even textile industry. So textile industry, यूरोप का textile industry कहाँ पर है अभी? So इंडिया में था मेजरली, अभी भी है, बट ग्रेजुअली शिफ्ट हो रहे बांग्लादेश. ओके, सो इंडिया में मेजरली था, कहाँ पर था? कोयम्बतूर, अराउंड कोयम्बतूर. बॉम्बे इज ओल्डर बेल्ट. ओके, कोयम्बतूर बेल्ट इज मेजर, ऑल मेजर यूरोपियन ब्रांड्स यू विल फाइंड देयर, ऑल इंटरनेशनल ब्रांड्स यू विल फाइंड देयर. ओके, डायरेक्टली प्रोड्यूस होते हैं, डायरेक्टली एक्सपोर्ट होते हैं. वन ऑफ द वेरी पोल्यूटिंग इंडस्ट्री, राइट? ठीक है. सो नाउ दे आर ग्रेजुअली शिफ्टिंग टुवर्ड्स बांग्लादेश एंड वियतनाम. So that's because of higher cost of production in India. Okay, gradually rise होते जा रहे हैं. So like this. So but in those countries where they are they are actually producing there, where they are shifting out because it is becoming too costly for them to produce over there. So in those countries the overall limitations, overall restrictions are not that much. In fact, in many of the countries there are no restrictions at all. So there they are freely releasing whatever the carbon dioxide they want. It is the same country, same industries here. Either they will develop their own subsidiary here or they will lease it to someone else. So finally the product to दूसरी जगह में produce हो रहा है ना. So they are not producing in Europe, but they are producing somewhere else, and from there they are releasing carbon dioxide. So that is what is called as carbon leakage. By relocating their production centers, they are releasing the carbon dioxide somewhere else. इसको रोकने के लिए एक ये प्रपोजल लेके आए हैं, कार्बन बॉर्डर एडजस्टमेंट मैकेनिज्म. कार्बन बॉर्डर एडजस्टमेंट मैकेनिज्म बहुत सिंपल मैकेनिज्म है. So let's say you are sitting in Europe and you are either you have given your responsibility of production to someone else and then you are taking it back as import, or you are directly importing from someone who is already producing. In both the cases what is happening, your demand has produced some carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases, right? That is the result. So this mechanism says that when this product enters the border, okay, ये उल्टा कैसे है, ठीक है. When this product, okay, this is supplier, this is going in this direction, ठीक है. When this product which is produced in any country which is not Europe से बाहर produce होके अंदर आ रहे हैं, when before it enters the border, they will impose some extra tax on them and then they will let it enter. So what do we call this taxes? Carbon tax. Carbon tax. ठीक है, वो extra tax impose करके उनको allow करेंगे. So what is the justification for this? Because one who is producing the same product here, he has to pay more money, right? Because he has to bring cleaner technology, costlier technology. You are going to another country and you are producing there and bringing it back. Your cost of production is less, his cost of production is high. We need to match both of them. Then only we will hold all these industries back here. Otherwise everyone will start to shift out and everyone will result in carbon leakage. To stop the carbon leakage, we have to bring this parity, then only there is no carbon leakage, right? So is it justified? To some extent it is justified, yes. Okay, then only it will not result in carbon leakage. So that mechanism is called as carbon border adjustment mechanism. So carbon border adjustment mechanism में क्या करेंगे? Every time you don't have to pay. We'll just calculate how much of difference is there and that we will put in your record or budget, whatever it is, हम annually एक बार set off कर देंगे. Okay, we will adjust once in a year whenever the budgeting or auditing is going to happen, then we will set it off. That is what is carbon border adjustment mechanism. ठीक है, it's a form of carbon credit. Yes. So यही है हमारा concern. Including India is opposing this because of the same reason. See, here there are two different issues. One, the industries which are already well established here, genuinely established in countries like India, Bangladesh and other countries, who are exporting there. Second, those industries who are originally from there and they are relocating just to avoid it. Okay, both the industries are there, but this mechanism will treat both of them equally. Whoever is entering, उनके ऊपर लगा दो. Okay, whether you are genuinely is from a third world country, you are sending it here, or you are from the first world country and you are producing there and bringing it back, both of them will be impacted in the same manner. This is a concern which India has raised, and in fact many of the other countries have also opposed this very clearly. It is not something which is implemented yet. अभी तक implement नहीं हुआ है. Because they have produced the same goods on EU itself, and there the laws are strict. They would have spent the money to bring the technology, right? They would have spent more money on that. So उनके ऊपर क्यों लगाएंगे? इनके ऊपर इसलिए लगा रहे हैं कि like polluting environment they are producing that too at a very cheaper cost. So in order to bring parity between both of them, we need to put some extra tax on them. That is what is carbon tax. In this case, it is called as carbon border adjustment mechanism. Yeah, we can say so. Okay, so whenever they have some more credits, they will be offsetting with that. No, sanitary phytosanitary is different. Sanitary phytosanitary is basically the measures which they prescribe, है ना? So it's a condition. It is not a some extra tax. वो tax नहीं है. No, it will not. Yes, overall production is increasing. So that is why they are saying we should put some extra carbon tax. Otherwise, everyone from developed countries will come and produce in developing countries, and the cost of the overall greenhouse gas emission will remain the same. It will undermine the entire efforts in the global warming, climate change. जितना हम कम करने के लिए कोशिश कर रहे हैं ना, ये पूरा उसको undermine कर देगा. Yes, yes. So is that clear? Okay. So that mechanism is called as carbon border adjustment mechanism. Now India is opposing this strongly because India is the third largest trading partner of European Union. Okay, India is the third largest trading partner of European Union, and India has already existing industries who are supplying many exports to these European countries. Even they will get impacted, right? And more than that, this clearly violates Rio Declaration. So Rio Declaration याद है कहाँ पर था? In Rio Earth Summit, right? In Rio Earth Summit, many principles have been clearly declared, clearly established, and in that one of the clearly established principle which all the countries had agreed that developing and developed countries cannot have the same treatment. Okay, so उसी को बाद में जाके CBDR बनाया था. So basically saying that developing countries have lesser responsibility, they should be given lesser restriction. So now if you are saying that if the product which is coming from a developing country will be given extra tax, that means you are treating both the products equally, right? So you are treating the product which is produced in India as well as the product which is produced in Europe, both are considered to be equal, which is violation of Rio Declaration. Okay? And this can also be said to be a disguised form of protectionism to protect the domestic industry and to discourage importing from other countries. European Union might be doing this, who knows? Possibility hai, right? It may be a disguised form of protectionism, which is again the violation of WTO itself, right? Phytosanitary is phytosanitary is allowed. Phytosanitary is allowed. Because every country will have its own requirement. Phytosanitary is basically the requirement of this. ये जो क्वालिटी मतलब क्वालिटी रिक्वायरमेंट होता है ना, तो हेल्थ कंसर्न रिलेटेड में होता है, वही तरीका है. बट ये तो और मतलब इनडायरेक्टली हो गया कि यू आर सेइंग दैट यू शुड नॉट इम्पोर्ट रादर यू प्रोड्यूस हियर ओनली, राइट? इट विल बिकम ए वायलेशन ऑफ WTO itself. And it is also said that India should not be much concerned about this this kind of measure, because they say that this is not targeted towards India, rather it is targeted towards Eastern European countries and few other less developed countries, where they are intentionally sending their polluting industries. Okay, basically बोल रहे हैं कि intentionally polluting industries को वहाँ पर relocate करके करवा रहे हैं. Okay, so that's why India should not be of much concern, but it is said that India instead it can negotiate directly with European Union, and instead if they want to impose, let them impose, but instead it should ask for clean development technologies. Clean technologies दे दो हमें, so which can be useful for both, right? ठीक है. That is about this. है ना, significance में दिया है आप, you can just see, to address the carbon leakage, to encourage more rapid application of renewable technologies, incentivize non-European Union countries to increase their climate ambition. मतलब वहाँ पर जहाँ से import आ रहे हैं वो लोग भी अच्छा सा technology से बनाना पड़ेगा फिर, right? Upholding the polluter pays principles, all of this. So next one, International Solar Alliance, ISA. International Solar Alliance is the only international organization or a alliance or grouping which we can say which is headquartered in India. Where is it? Gurugram. So it was started in Paris 2015. It is the joint initiative of India and France. Okay? Initially it was limited only to the countries within tropics. When it was established, it was targeted for those countries which are located between the tropics, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Now it is made open to all the UN members. Any UN member can be part of this International Solar Alliance. So what is the overall agenda of this? Better cooperation among the solar rich countries. So basically to harness the solar energy in much more better manner and to bring more cooperation in terms of technology, funding, all of this, we have alliance. That is what is International Solar Alliance. A total of 92 countries have signed and ratified. Okay, sign bhi ho gaya, ratified bhi ho gaya. That is total of 92 countries. And their overall strategy is towards 1000 strategy. Towards 1000 strategy. Okay, 1000. There are 3 thousands here. One is $1,000 billion of investment. They want to bring $1,000 million of investment. Second, energy access to 1,000 million people. Third, 1,000 gigawatt of solar energy capacity installation. Okay, so याद रहेगा. बहुत कम आ रहा है आवाज. देखो, पहले है कि इन्वेस्टमेंट, दूसरा है कि नंबर ऑफ पीपल, तीसरा है कि द एनर्जी कैपेसिटी. ठीक है, सो नंबर ऑफ पीपल कितना होना चाहिए? 1000 मिलियन. बिलियन तो नहीं है, इतना लोग नहीं है. 1000 मिलियन. इन्वेस्टमेंट कितना चाहिए? 1000 बिलियन. एंड सोलर कैपेसिटी कितना होना चाहिए? 1000 गीगावाट. So that is what is International Solar Alliance. So what is India's target? India का क्या target है solar energy? 175 gigawatt. ठीक है. And renewable energy total 500. अभी बताया 500 gigawatt by 2030. ठीक है. So ISA has been very successful at the international level. So in fact, ISA has even got the observer status in UN General Assembly. International Solar Alliance has got the observer status in UN General Assembly. What do you mean by this observer status? We can take part in all the proceedings. So can you talk? Yes, you can talk but not vote. ठीक है. So other than this, so why it is in news? वो जो one sun, one world, one grid, वो तो न्यूज़ में आ गया है ना, यूपीएससी में भी आ गया. So ठीक है, it basically tries to develop a overall grid connecting all the solar energy of all the different parts. Okay, so एक बड़ा सा grid बनाना चाहता है. So very ambitious, but let's so hope for it. ठीक है. So it is in news because of recent solar facility. Solar facility. What is this solar facility? It is a facility for funding. Funding का facility है. Because usually for solar projects, funding is not that great. People hesitate. People means the investors, the big investors hesitate to invest in solar projects because the profits are not that great, and in many of the cases it is not sure whether it is going to be successful or returns are going to come or not. There is always a hesitation. So in order to reduce the apprehensions of all these, the people who are investing here, the International Solar Alliance has approved a solar facility. This solar facility has two funds. It will have two funds. The first one is Solar Payment Guarantee Fund. Solar Payment Guarantee Fund. So guarantee fund क्या होता है? So वही बहुत जगह में जो इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए जो आगे पीछे देखते हैं, they will be very apprehensive, इससे रिटर्न्स आएगा नहीं आएगा. So in that case government will develop a fund, है ना, so they will provide some assurance, some guarantee, है ना, गवर्नमेंट भी इन्वेस्ट किया है, देखो आप लोग भी करो, है ना, कुछ तो रिटर्न तो आएगा. So in that way they will provide a guarantee fund. ठीक है. And second one is insurance, solar insurance fund. So this is again to encourage more investment. Solar insurance fund is basically in case of any unforeseen incidents where the project is not very successful, या collapse हो गया, disaster आ गया. So in that case it's a insurance. So usually insurance will be taken as extra cost by the investors. The government is saying हम insurance दे देंगे, आप invest कर लो through this fund. For to provide insurance they have a separate fund. So the first one Solar Payment Guarantee Fund. Second, Solar Insurance Fund. This is going to be part of this entire solar facility. So ये solar facility कहाँ पर, कहाँ के लिए? To raise funding in which part of the world? Africa. Okay, so Africa majorly जो underserved markets है, so उनके लिए ऐसा एक market facility, funding facility लेके आ रहे the International Solar Alliance. So other than this, there is also recently in news ISA and International Civil Aviation Organization. MOU was signed between both of them. So what is this International Civil Aviation Organization? International Civil Aviation Organization. It is an intergovernmental body. So what is intergovernmental body? बताइए, first बताया था मैंने. Exclusively for the governments, है ना. So this is an intergovernmental body in the context of international civil aviation. That is the domestic movement, sorry, the international movement of the civil, that is the passengers. Okay, passenger movement के लिए जो aviation sector है, to handle that, to regulate that and to take care of that entire sector, we have a body, that is what is International Civil Aviation Organization. So it was established through Chicago Convention. Through Chicago Convention it was established, and there are a total of 193 members who are part of this organization. Okay, to basically to bring better cooperation among the different countries in the context of aviation, है ना, international flights में, international travel, international routes in that context. So व्हाट इज देयर वर्क विथ ISA? ISA के साथ में क्या काम है इनका? Civil aviation is one of the largest producer of carbon dioxide. It releases 2.5% of the global carbon dioxide emissions, which is considered to be one of the major source of carbon dioxide. So ISA has approached that हम थोड़ा मदद करेंगे आपको, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रिड्यूस कर लो, है ना. तो ये लोग भी बोला है कि चलो ठीक है रिड्यूस कर लेते हैं. So it has also set an example. Okay, so what is the example? Cochin Airport. Okay, Cochin Airport is totally solar. It is the world's first airport which is completely operated with solar power. है ना, देखो इंडिया में ऐसे किया है, हम आप भी कर सकते हो बोल के. So they are trying to help them. So दोनों के बीच में MOU हुआ है. So it is expected that it will reduce the carbon dioxide emissions from the civil aviation. Global Environment Facility Council. First let's talk about Global Environment Facility. What is this GEF? Global Environment Facility क्या है? It is a fund. जो funding में मैंने example दिया था ना first. So it's totally funding program. Okay, funding मतलब funding organization. So they will take money from someone and they will give money to someone else. It was established as part of Rio Earth Summit. 1992 Rio Earth Summit का ही पार्ट था, क्योंकि उनमें से बहुत सारा कन्वेंशंस निकल के आया था. तो सबके लिए तो पैसा तो चाहिए, बिना पैसे तो काम नहीं होगा. So that's why they wanted a funding mechanism. So they established this Global Environment Facility. It is an outcome of 1992 Rio Earth Summit. Okay, so the objective is to support all the countries, most of the countries which are in need of them, and all of them are developing countries, to address the environmental issues. Okay, to address the environmental issues, it provides funding. There are a total of 185 members. India is of course a member because we are also one of the largest recipient of this money. बहुत जगह में बहुत programs हमने किया है using this Global Environment Facility. ठीक है, तो funding तो establish कर दिया. Funding they will fund for various different programs, and it provides funding for 5 major conventions. 5 major conventions. Whatever the programs, whatever the initiatives taken under these convention, all of them get funding from Global Environment Facility only. So in that, 3 are direct result of this Earth Summit: UNFCCC, UN CBD, and UNCCD, Convention to Combat Desertification. In addition to this, there is also Minamata Convention on Mercury and Stockholm Convention on POP, Persistent Organic Pollutants. So these 5 convention majorly take their money from this GEF, Global Environment Facility. सबसे ज़्यादा कहाँ पर जाता है? UNFCCC. Okay, UNFCCC is the largest one. In addition to this, it also supports few of the implementation of these protocols. For example, Montreal Protocol को भी support करता है, and UN Law of Seas. Okay, UN clause है ना, उसका treaty है. So that is also supported. And Marpol Treaty क्या है? Shipping routes and the pollution from the shipping lanes and ships, उसके through pollution को कम करने के लिए. That is what is Marpol Treaty. So even it helps in Marpol Treaty implementation too. So as a part of this Global Environment Facility, we have 2 special funds. One is Special Climate Change Fund and Least Developed Countries Fund. Okay, LDCF. Both are part of UNFCCC only. UNFCCC के अंदर बहुत सारा फंड्स क्रिएट हुआ है, बताइए कौन कौन सा है? What are the funding mechanism established under UNFCCC? Global Green Climate Fund. Green Climate Fund, one major fund. उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या था? $100 billion per year by 2020. ठीक है, that is Green Climate Fund. It was established under which COP? कैनकन में फाइनलाइज हुआ, एस्टेब्लिश हुआ डरबन में. ओके, कैनकन वाज 2010, डरबन वाज 2011. दिस ग्रीन क्लाइमेट फंड. देयर इज आल्सो एडेप्टेशन फंड, एडेप्टेशन फंड भी है. उसके अलावा ये भी है LDCF, लीस्ट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज फंड, एंड स्पेशल क्लाइमेट चेंज फंड. All of these are funding under UNFCCC only, and these are managed by Global Environment Facility itself. Okay, उनका राइजिंग मैकेनिज्म अलग होगा एंड डिस्पैचिंग मैकेनिज्म भी अलग होगा, बट ओवरऑल मैनेज्ड बाय ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट फैसिलिटी इटसेल्फ. बट अदर दैन दिस, ये जो कन्वेंशंस के लिए फंडिंग रिलीज करता है या फंडिंग राइज करने का काम होता है ना, टू मेंटेन ऑल ऑफ दैट दे हैव ए काउंसिल विच इज कॉल्ड एज GEF काउंसिल. ओके, इट इज बेसिकली a kind of secretariat which is handling this fund. So किससे लेना है, ऐसा भी नहीं होना चाहिए, इलीगल तरीके से ले सकता है ना, ऐसे तो नहीं हो सकता है ना. So who are the ones who are contributing to this? कौन contribute करता है? Most of them are developed countries. Okay, it is the governing body and the members to this is regularly elected. Okay, there are total of 32 members. Okay, so हो सकता है तो याद रखो, there are total of 32 members. And right now India is also one of them. Okay, so India is also one of them, which is part of Global Environment Facility ka council. So now how do they raise the funding? From various different donors, and they raise the funding every 4 years cycle. एक 4 years का cycles में raise करते हैं. They raise the funding, they allow the funding, they issue the funding, है ना, काम वाम करवा के मॉनिटर भी करते हैं थोड़ा बहुत. ओके, दैट हैपेंड इन cycles, 4 cycles में करते हैं. एंड द लास्ट साइकिल एंडेड रिसेंटली. द लास्ट साइकिल वाज कॉल्ड एज GEF7. GEF7 was the last cycle, that was between 2018 to 2022. Okay, so GEF8 has started between 2022 to 2026. ठीक है, एंड फंड किसको देंगे? हु विल गेट द फंड? इज इट ओनली द गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज? क्वेश्चन यहां पर भी आएगा. हु आर एलिजिबल टू गेट फंडिंग फ्रॉम ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट फैसिलिटी? एवरीवन. Government agencies, private agencies, NGOs, civil society, everyone. That will be decided by the governing council. मतलब GEF council. Council will decide किसको funding देना है. वही है GEF7. It happens in 7 cycles. 4 year का एक cycle होता है. Okay, the last cycle was between 2018 to 2022. Okay, that cycle was called as GEF7. So 7 cycles हुआ है अभी तक. 1992 से शुरू हुआ है ना. पहले एक मॉडल साइकिल ऐसे कुछ चलाया था. Once they finalize the mechanism, then they start to run it regularly. हर 4 साल का एक cycle चलाते हैं. They will raise the fund, they will disperse the fund and finish that cycle. Okay, next cycle they will move on again. The entire system continues. That will be handled by this GEF council. See, फंड को किसको करेगा, फाइनली किसको मिलेगा, वो मैं बता रहा था. They will be working under these conventions only. They will be working under either climate change or biodiversity or combating desertification or mercury pollution or POP, persistent organic pollutants. Okay, so you have few other things which are related to these. Which are the agencies which are eligible to get? That can be anyone. Government agency हो सकता है, private agency हो सकता है, but you should be working there in this. So तब वो उनके लिए funding मिलेगा. There would be some mechanism. Okay. No, not individuals. ठीक है. सो फंडिंग इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. इसके ऊपर ऑलरेडी क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. बताइए इसका आंसर तो दिया है, क्वेश्चन देख लो. ठीक है. ग्रीन क्लाइमेट फंड इज टोटली अंडर UNFCCC ओनली. UNFCCC का ही है. ठीक. चलो, विल कम टू अदर इनिशिएटिव्स लेटर. अपडेटेड इंडिसेस हो गया. या कम टू दिस एडेप्टेशन गैप रिपोर्ट. So we know about adaptation, right? Adaptation तो पता है. So adaptation basically all the measures required to develop resilience, right? Developing resilience to deal with climate change. That is developing the capacity to face the climate change. That is what is adaptation. UNEP releases various different reports. UNEP कब establish हुआ था? 1972 after Stockholm conference. Okay, outcome of Stockholm conference. So it oversees many of the conventions, many of the different programs, and it also releases various different reports. Two important reports which is released by UNEP. One is adaptation gap report. Okay, this is annual adaptation gap report. And second one is emission gap report. Adaptation gap report and emission gap report. So adaptation gap report is basically whatever the initiatives which we have to take to completely prepare for climate change and global warming, and whatever we are taking. अभी कितना ले रहे तो और कितना चाहिए. So that gap is called as adaptation gap report. ठीक है. So based on the latest report, it says that almost 84% of all the parties to UNFCCC have at least one of the initiative taking towards adaptation, which is good thing. ठीक है. So nearly 84% of all the parties to UNFCCC, they are implementing at least one of the initiatives, but there is a huge gap between the adaptation and mitigation. Most of the countries, they work towards mitigation and there is very less attention towards adaptation. But gradually this is changing. We are also taking more adaptation measures. That is a good thing. Second, finance is also very important part. So what was the target under Green Climate Fund? $100 billion per year. एक साल में $100 billion mobilize करना है. And as per the latest report in 2020, the world fell short of 17 billion. मतलब we were able to mobilize 83 billion, so that is good thing. Okay, combining both the mitigation and adaptation. Okay, that is as per this report. However, this gap, ये तो हम सोच सकते बहुत कम है, आगे कैचअप हो जाएगा. So but this report says that आगे तो और बढ़ेगा. Okay, it is said that the gap, particularly in developing countries, is going to be much greater in the future times. It is going to be much greater. ठीक है. So ऐसे जनरल फाइंडिंग्स है, बट आपको याद रखना है कौन सा रिपोर्ट है, कौन रिलीज किया है, एंड व्हाट इज द ओवरऑल पर्पस ऑफ दिस. इससे भी ज़्यादा स्पेसिफिक है एमिशन गैप रिपोर्ट. एमिशन गैप रिपोर्ट तो हर साल आ ही जाता है. सो इट इज एनुअल रिपोर्ट. सो व्हाट इज दिस एमिशन गैप? दिस कैन बी अ गुड क्वेश्चन इन UPSC. व्हाट इज द एमिशन गैप एज डिफाइंड इन एमिशन गैप रिपोर्ट? Which target? Paris Agreement. In Paris Agreement, the countries have agreed that they will achieve 1.4 degrees of maximum global warming, and the countries are also contributing towards that through declaring INDCs. Right? INDCs declare भी कर रहे हैं, and they are also saying हम 1.5 भी limit कर रहे हैं. ये रिपोर्ट देखता है सच में कितना इनको डिक्लेयर करना है how much they actually have to declare in order to achieve 1.5 degrees and how much they are declaring right now, and that gap is what is called as the emission gap. Okay, so for example India, if India has to reduce so and so amount of carbon dioxide, okay, let's say 1000, okay, 1000 units of carbon dioxide हमें reduce करना है in order to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius in India, and we have declared just 500, the emission gap becomes 500, right? So it assesses this emission gap for each country. That is what is emission gap report. Okay, who releases this? UNEP. As per the latest emission gap report, if we have to limit 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming को 1.5 degree के लिए limit करना है, we have to cut further by 45%. Emissions should be reduced by 45% more. मतलब अभी जितना reduce करने वाले हैं उससे 45% और ज़्यादा reduce करना है. If you are happy with 2 degrees Celsius, still you have to reduce the emission to 30% more from the present estimates. मतलब present जो target है ना उससे भी 30% ज़्यादा किया तब भी हम 2% तक restrict करेंगे. अगर कुछ नहीं किया, जितना target किया उतना ही किया, तो कितना होगा? 2.4 डिग्री सेल्सियस. ओके, दैट इज ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड. ग्लासगो में बात कर लिया था इसके बारे में. सो अदर देन दिस, एनी अदर रिपोर्ट्स विच दिस यूनेप रिलीजेस? Global Environment Outlook. Okay, it releases Global Environment Outlook report, GEO report. And another important report, Triple Emergency Report. ठीक है, एंड वहाँ पर एक टेबल, एक बॉक्स में दिया है. कैन यू सी दिस? ओवरऑल agreements administered by UNEP. So that is a very good timeline where you can see all the conventions under one heading. Okay, so within that, not in the content list. Okay, within this, I think page number 22. Okay, in that there is a small box, agreements administered by UNEP. If you see, you will find all the international conventions except UNFCCC. सारा है इसमें. So that means UNEP is the body which provides secretariat services to all the international conventions except to UNFCCC. UNFCCC has its own secretariat. Other than that, all the international conventions take the support of UNEP only. Okay. So oversee करना UNEP का ही काम है. तो यहाँ पर आपको पूरा टाइमलाइन मिल जाएगा. Okay, except UNFCCC and except Ramsar 2. Okay, so पूरा कन्वेंशन का टाइमलाइन बताइए, देखते हैं. 1971 रामसार, 1973 साइट्स is 1973 Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. 1979 CMS Bonn Convention. CMS is Convention on Migratory Species. ठीक है. 1985 Vienna Convention, and then 1989 बेसल कन्वेंशन. बेसल कन्वेंशन क्या है? ट्रांसबाउंड्री मूवमेंट ऑफ हजार्डस वेस्ट. ठीक है. एंड देन CBD एंड UNCCD 1992. एंड देन रोटरडैम कन्वेंशन, हजार्डस केमिकल्स 1998. हजार्डस केमिकल्स. वहां पर जो कंसेंट प्रोसीजर को क्या बोलते हैं? प्रायर इन्फॉर्म्ड कंसेंट, PIC बोलते हैं, राइट? दैट इज रोटरडैम कन्वेंशन. देन स्टॉकहोम कन्वेंशन ऑन persistent organic pollutants, POP, that is 2001. And then Minamata Convention on mercury pollution, that is 2013. Okay, so you have all the conventions here except Ramsar Convention and UNFCCC. UNFCCC 1992. UNCCD भी आ जाएगा. Okay, CCD भी 1992. Yes, yes. ओके, एक और सिंपल सा टॉपिक है, ये भी कवर कर लेते हैं. देखो, चलो ठीक है. स्पीड और बढ़ाना है बहुत स्लो है. सो आई थॉट इट इज टू मच ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन, बहुत ज़्यादा एक ही बार में डंप कर दिया तो आप लोग बोर हो जाओगे. तो ठीक है, अभी शुरू किया है तो ग्रेजुअली इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. एंड मोर एवर दीज टॉपिक्स टेक लॉन्गर टाइम. एंड में थोड़ा बहुत फैक्चुअल है, सो दैट विल बी फास्टर. ठीक है, सो विल सी यू इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. थैंक यू.